And hello YouTube, this is Thomas Judge back once again with his YouTube reading guide series, and in this particular series this is the fifth video in a short series talking through the Marvel What If line of comics. So this series of videos are going to break down the comic issues that have been published set in the What If universe. In order to make this guide, I've read as many of the issues of What If I could get hold of, which given quite a lot of them aren't collected digitally and are really quite hard to find. That meant I read around 220 or so out of a total of 244 comics in order to make this guide. Final point, in case you find some of the terms and technical things I discussed in this video series a bit complicated, I strongly recommend you watch the first video in this series to give you a bit of context. Even better, I'd recommend you watch my multiverse explanation video in the vocabulary of comics playlist that I have on my channel, because that really goes into a lot of detail explaining what the multiverse is and gives you a really good understanding of sort of generally what I'm talking about, not just for Marvel What If, but for multiverses in general. So with no further ado, let's look at what the What If multiverse is. There exist parallel worlds beyond our own. Within these worlds, each living being faces turning points in their own existence, and a choice must be made at every one of these points. Choices that will affect their own destinies, and perhaps that of their world or even the universe itself. Call it the road not taken, the chance missed, the decision deferred, of what might have been, what could have happened, but for the invisible workings of an incomprehensible fate. Call it what if. So in today's video, we're going to finish off the second major series of What If comics, which is the volume that ran from 89 through till the late 90s. And for this video, what I'm going to do is I'm explicitly going to show you which issues are available on Marvel Unlimited or Comixology, because most of them aren't. And what I've done so far for all the videos in this series is I flash up an image of Marvel Unlimited and Comixology on the side when it is available digitally. So with no further ado, what we need to keep in mind is that in the last video I dropped yesterday, the last issue we covered was issue 76. The reason for that is that because from issue 77 onwards, Marvel adopted something called Ultiverse branding for their What If stories. Now, it's worth keeping in mind that this was only for a brief period from 1995 to 1996, and all What If stories were labelled as Marvel Ultiverse. But as well as the What If stories labelled as that, Marvel decided to use this Ultiverse branding to show a few other random comics and random issues and just throw them out there. And this falls under Ultiverse branding, but not under What If branding. I know that's confusing, but I'll explain what I mean. So if we step outside the What If comics for a second, in terms of Ultiverse comics, there is a series called Ruins, which is a two-part story written by Warren Ellis. It's kind of a dark parody satire of the Alex Ross story Marvels, which you'll be very familiar with, hopefully. So this world is designated Earth 9591, and the second issue of Ruins is designated Earth 95920. Another Ultiverse comic is called Punisher, A Man Named Frank, which is set in the frontier days of the Wild West. I don't know what Earth or reality that is because it's not very clear. And there's also Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe. Now, it's important to note this was printed in 2005 with this cover, but then this cover when it was reprinted in 2008. Both comics have the same name. They're both called Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe. They're the exact same story, and they're designated as Earth 95126. Another Ultiverse story is another two-part story called The Last Avengers story. This is Earth designated Earth 9511. You can see the cover here. And the final Ultiverse branded story that isn't part of the What If stories is this. It's called X-Men Ultiverse Visions. It's a comic I have not been able to track down. I haven't been able to read it. I don't know what it's about. But there we are. So those are all the Ultiverse branded comics. You're probably thinking that's a bit confusing, but let's keep in mind that's where the branding Ultiverse comes in, but they're not part of the What If series that also had that branding. To show you what I mean, let's jump back into What If series 2, and here you can see issue 77. You'll notice this has got the Ultiverse branding on the issue cover itself, because this is when instead of calling it Marvel What If, they started calling it Marvel Ultiverse. And these Ultiverse stories, the ones with the numbered issues, were just the continuation of the What If series 2. Hope that made sense, guys. So I'll go over it again in a second, but let's just dive into the What If issues that have this Ultiverse branding in the corner. Number 77 is available on Marvel Unlimited and Comixology, and it's What If Legion Had Killed Magneto. So it's based on Uncanny X-Men number 320. This world is designated Earth 77995. Issue 78, again, alternative branding, is called or is asking the question, what if the new Fantastic Four had remained a team, and is based on Fantastic Four number 349. This world is designated Earth 9510. Issue 79 asks, what if Storm had the power of the Phoenix and is based on Uncanny X-Men number 100. This is Earth designate 9590. Issue 80 asks, what if the Hulk had evolved into the Maestro, so it is based on Incredible Hulk 377, and this is Earth designate 9512. Issue 81 is available on Marvel Unlimited and Comixology and asks the question, what if the Age of Apocalypse hadn't ended? So it kind of spins out of X-Men Omega, the one-shot issue that ended that massive event. And this is Earth designation 9601. Issue 82 is what if J. Jonah Jameson had adopted Spider-Man? That's actually based on the Amazing Spider-Man issue 1 and is designated as Earth 96282. And then issue 83 is what if Daredevil was the disciple of Doctor Strange, based on Strange Tales 110 and Daredevil number 1. That's Earth designation Earth 3971. Issue 84 is what if Shard had lived instead of Bishop and is based on Uncanny X-Men number 282. This world is designated Earth 9684. And issue 85 is what if Magneto ruled all mutants? That's based on Uncanny X-Men number 304. That particular world is designated Earth 96585. Finally, number 86, again, this is branded as the Alterniverse, and that is what if the Scarlet Spider had killed Spider-Man, is based on the Web of Spider-Man issue 129 and is Earth designation Earth 199606. Now, just stop there and pause for a second. That is the last Alterniverse branded comics. After doing a short stint of about a dozen of them in the What If universe, Marvel then dropped this brand entirely. So keep in mind the issues we've just looked at, which is from issue 77 through to issue 86, are the Alterniverse branded comics in series 2 of What If. But as well as that, there were random standalone Alterniverse branded comics that aren't part of the What If series and the What If publishing line, but they are still branded with Alterniverse branding. So if you're in a comic shop and you see them, you know where they fit in. They don't fit in as part of What If, but they fit in alongside this short period of What If of issue 77 to 86, where there was Alterniverse branding. Just to recap, those spin-off on the side issues for the Alterniverse are Ruins, Punisher, a Man Named Frank, Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe, Last Avengers Story, and X-Men Alterniverse Visions. So, with that all out of the way, let's go back to issue 86. As I said, that is the last Alterniverse branded comic. If we then move on to issue 87, we will see that the covers here no longer say Alterniverse. That branding is now utterly dead. It was a total failure. But the cover also no longer explicitly states each story's what if, which makes them a bit more like DC's Elseworlds, basically. Having said that, the cover branding changes to a really nice one. I really prefer this. And I'll be honest, issues 87 onwards, in fact, issue 77 onwards, is kind of the sweet spot for Marvel What If for me. I love these issues. This whole era is just brilliant. I can't wait for them to collect them in an omnibus, which is unfortunately going to be a little bit of a wait, but still very keen on seeing these collected officially as opposed to tracking them down in single issue floppies. So issue 87, as you can see, not collected digitally anywhere. This is a What If story starring Sabretooth and is called What If Screams in the Night. The question that it's asking is what if Sabretooth was loose in the X Mansion? And this is Earth designation Earth 9670. The next one is What If starring Spider-Man, Arachnomorphosis. What this actually asks is what if Spider-Man had evolved into a spider monster based on AF-15, the original Spider-Man appearance, and this Earth is designated 688. The next one is What If starring the Fantastic Four, Deadly Inheritance. What this is asking is what if the Fantastic Four's powers were out of control and is based on the initial Fantastic Four issue, Fantastic Four number 1. This Earth is designated 969. Issue 90, love that cover by the way, starring Cyclops and Havoc. Is their early years their darkest fears? What it's asking is what if Cyclops and Havoc were not orphaned? This world is designated Earth 96190. Issue 91 is what if starring the Incredible Hulk, the Man, the Monster. What it actually asks is what if Bruce Banner was savage and the Hulk was intelligent and is based on Incredible Hulk number 1. This is Earth designation 9691. Issue 92 is What If, starring Cannonball's little brother, Josh. Cannonball is Sam Guthrie, he's an X-Men, and his pet Sentinel. What he's really asking is, what if Josh had discovered a Sentinel? This is Earth Designation 9612, but it's fairly similar in plot to the Sean McKeever Sentinel miniseries, which actually spanned over 2 volumes, and I did a custom omnibus of that, which is in my custom omnibus playlist on my channel. Issue 93, which is actually the very first What If issue I ever read in my life, and this is What If starring Wolverine and Man No More. It asks, what if Wolverine became savage, based on Wolverine number 100, which, if you remember, is where Wolverine almost got his adamantium back, rejected it, and then regressed evolution-wise until he lost his nose entirely and became extremely feral. This is World Designate 97193. Issue 94 is What If, starring Juggernaut, The Kingdom of Cain. The question is, what if the Juggernaut had killed Xavier and the X-Men, based on Uncanny X-Men number 12? This is Earth 9796. Issue 95, admittedly this is a bit weak, but this stars Ghost Rider, is called Burn Baby Burn, and asks, what if the Ghost Rider was different, based on Ghost Rider number 1? And so this is Earth 973. Issue 96, starring Quicksilver, is called The Quick and the Dead, and asks, what if Magneto had raised his children? This world was designated Earth 7400. Issue 97 stars Black Knight, is called Camelot Reborn, and asks, what if Doctor Doom had conquered Camelot? This is Earth designation 97597. Issue 98 is What If, starring Rogue, Children in the Attic, and asks, what if Mystique had raised Nightcrawler? This world was designated Earth 69798. Next, we have an unusual thing. This is issue -1, and this is part of the overall flashback event in which most of Marvel series published issues numbered -1 that was set in the past. Now, this -1 issue fits technically between issues 98 and 99. That's when it was published. But to be honest, like all of What If issues, you can read them in any order you please. It doesn't really matter. This one stars Bishop, and so spins out of Uncanny X-Men number 282, and this is Earth designation 97799. Issue 99 is What If, starring Spider-Man, The Men Behind the Mask, and the question it asks is, what if the Black Cat was a celebrity? This is Earth designation 97899. Issue 100 is What If, starring Gambit, The Greatest Secrets of the Marvel Universe Revealed. This was kind of clever, kind of meta, kind of weird. Anyways, Earth designation 979. Issue 101 is What If, starring Archangel, Death and Disobedience, and it asks, what if Archangel had killed X-Factor and the Horseman, based on X-Factor number 25? This world was designated Earth 10197 and also includes a backup story, What if Gambit was a card hustler? Issue 102, What If, starring Daredevil, The fight of his life has ended. And what it asks is, what if Matt Murdock had become a boxer like his father? Which again spins out of Daredevil issue 1, which we've seen before. This particular reality is Earth 9711. Issue 103 is What If, starring Captain America the Unknown Soldier, and asks, what if Captain America had awoken in a dystopian America? Again, based on Avengers issue 4. So this is a remake of the earlier issues 28 and 29 from series 2 of What If that we talked about a couple of videos ago. This is Earth designation 12973. Issue 104 is a variation on issue 49 that we saw a few videos ago, because it asks, what if, it's an Infinity Gauntlet story asking, what if the Impossible Man possessed the Infinity Gauntlet? It stars the Silver Surfer and is based on Infinity Gauntlet issue 4. This is Earth 95397. Issue 105, you'll notice, is actually available to read digitally. Thank goodness for that. So that is What If, starring Spider-Girl, and asks the question, what if Spider-Man and Mary Jane's child had survived? Now, this is the first appearance of Spider-Girl, or May Parker. This later spins off into the Marvel Comics 2 line, or MC2, which is designated Earth 982. There's loads of comics in the MC2 line, like J2 for the Son of Juggernaut. There's A-Force, which is like a Junior Avengers thing. I'm basically planning on doing a reading guide for Earth 982 one day, but would you guys be interested in that? If so, please comment below and I will bump it up my order of guides to do. Issue 106 is What If starring Gambit, Revenge, and the question here is what if Marrow had killed Gambit based on Uncanny X-Men number 350. This world was designated Earth 983. The next issue is 107, What If starring the mighty Thor, and who shall be king? It asks what if Thor had assumed the throne of Asgard and is Earth 983107. Issue 108 stars the Avengers and asks what if Carnage had bonded permanently to the Silver Surfer. So it's based on Amazing Spider-Man issue 431 and is Earth 985. Issue 109 is what if starring the Fantastic Four, The Thing, human again? It asks the question, what if Ben Grimm had stayed in Liddleville, which is based on Fantastic Four number 236. This Earth is designated 989. Issue 110 is What If starring the Uncanny X-Men. With Phoenix possessed, who will save Professor X from the fury of Colossus? In other words, what it's asking is what if Colossus had joined the USSR Soviet super soldiers? And this kind of spins out of Giant Size X-Men number 1, which is where Colossus originally kind of joined the X-Men. So this Earth is designated 9871. The next issue is What If starring Wolverine. What if Wolverine was a Horseman of War based on Wolverine issue 100 again, so the one where Genesis tries to make him into a new Horseman. This Earth is designated 2988. Issue 112 is What If starring Kazar, New York, the new Savage Land, no escape. The question here is actually what if Thanos had turned Manhattan into a Savage Land? And this is Earth designation 989112. The penultimate issue of this series is What If starring Iron Man, Alone Against Dormammu, Tony Stark, Sorcerer Supreme. What it's basically asking is what if Tony Stark had become Sorcerer Supreme? So it's based on Strange Tales 110 and Tales of Suspense 39. This Earth is designated 9810. The last issue here of Series 2 of What If is actually available on Marvel Unlimited and Comixology. It's issue 114, issue 114, and that stars Secret Wars 25 years later. Here come a new generation of heroes. The question is asking is what if all the participants of Secret Wars had been trapped on Battle World? So it kind of spins off from a different interpretation of the events of Secret Wars 12. What if things had happened differently? Interestingly enough, I've just seen that Secret Wars is getting reprinted, the omnibus of it. I'm not a fan of the story. It's too retro for me. I have read it, and I would strongly, strongly recommend that all Marvel fans at least read it because it contains so many key integral plot beats for so many major characters. So yeah, well worth reading and checking out. And if you're interested in the omnibus, it is available. I'm not picking it up, but don't let that stop you. I think the omnibus or the various Secret Wars issues should be available on Marvel Unlimited as well. Anyway, this is the final issue of What If Series 2, and this world is designated Earth 9811. Phew, right, okay, that is the end of Series 2 of What If. What we're going to cover now over the next couple of videos is the remaining, like, 10 or so volumes, but all those volumes only have 5 or 6 issues in them, so we'll be able to zip right through that, and I'll be able to show you pictures of what the particular issues are, the best reading orders, if there is a particular reading order. What I will not do over the next few videos is point out what's on Marvel Unlimited and Comixology and what isn't, simply because they're all available, which is great, which makes them really straightforward to read, although quite hard to actually find due to the terrible way those websites are curated. But anyway, more on that next time. For now, ladies, gentlemen, and others, I'm going to draw this 5th video to a close. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter. Feel free to DM me on there if you have any questions about this, or you can always comment below and ask me questions there. It's much easier for me to reply to comments on YouTube videos than anything else, to be honest. Do you want to support the channel? It's easy. Head over to Amazon, pick up the first volume of my pro superhero novel, No Gods or Kings. It costs less than $1. It's free on Kindle Unlimited, and a free excerpt of it is on my website, which is nogodsorkings.com. The link to that's in the description below. Until next time, everybody, stay classy.